Is your Jeep suffering from the death wobble like mine was? In this week's video, I'll show you what I did to diagnose the problem and solve it for under $100. Check it out. Here's the way I was able to diagnose and finally fix the dreaded death wobble on my Gladiator Mojave. Hopefully this video will help some of you guys out there that were experiencing this dreaded issue with your Gladiators or Wranglers, and you're about to go buy a bunch of parts to try to fix it. First, try these things, okay? First, let me tell you right now, hint, hint, that is not your fix. Don't go out there and try to buy a steering stabilizer before you diagnose the problem, because it is not going to fix your problem. So, what is the things that I did in order to diagnose my problem and finally get rid of it? So, here are all your steering components, right? The very first thing that you should do is grab yourself some wrenches. I got a set of ratchet wrench, and I put it to all these bolts. And I made sure that every single bolt is nice and tight everywhere, everything, every single bolt. Make sure everything is tight on both sides, right? Make sure you don't have any loose bolts, because any loose bolts on these steering components is going to allow for vibration to pass through and go from one end of your tires all the way to the other end. And that's where that dreaded death wobble comes in, right? So I checked the bolts on both sides of the Jeep, checked it right here, and I checked it on the pitman arm. So all of my bolts were nice and tight. My controls are brand new, so I didn't have to deal with that. But everything is nice and tight, so good. The very next thing you do is make sure your tires are on the ground. Get somebody inside of your vehicle to turn the steering wheel left and right. They don't have to slam it in each direction, just turn it. And look for movement in your joints. Make sure these things are nice and steady. Make sure nothing is wiggling around. Make sure your knuckles are good. Make sure nothing is moving. Everything is nice and steady, nice and solid. Right here, you're gonna have a little bit of play, but that's normal. I went to the dealer and I found a brand new Jeep, and I did this test, and it's normal. So don't be afraid of that noise. But just make sure that as you're turning your steering wheel, none of these things are wiggling, right? Once you can confirm that none of these things are moving, this is steady. This is steady. This is steady. This is steady. This is steady on both sides. Then you could do the next thing, which was actually my fix. Take your car, especially if you have larger tires like these 35s, take it to a good tire shop and get a road force balance done. That was my fix. So it turns out in my situation, my Gladiator was suffering from death wobble due to some really, really badly balanced tires. The shop said they were horrendously balanced. So that's what my fix was. The funny thing is, I have already inspected this car 4 times. They've never found a situation where death wobble was happening, but they never inspected the tires. Obviously, they're not going to do that. They're going to check the suspension parts. They don't really check balancing of tires unless you ask for it. One shop even quoted me over $2,000 to replace everything. They said the best case for your Jeep is replace everything in the front end and it'll take care of it. Come on now.